Welcome to the COVID-19 apocalypse. Oh, wait.
Sorry, I had to go grocery shopping earlier today. You know, it's Passover coming up, and things are getting a little weird out there. I've actually seen several people wearing gas masks. I don't know. But you know where I've also seen them wear gas masks? In tonight's trip to the Dammocalpyse. Yes, our journey with Jean-Claude continues, and it's going full double mint gum tonight in a little film called Double Impact. We got two Jean-Claudes, brothers separated at birth, one raised in China, one raised in LA, both equal opportunity to catch COVID-19. So what do Cannon Films, David Cronenberg, and Alexandre Dumas all have in common? They're all reasons why this movie gets made. Let's get into it. And yes, I mean that Dumas, the one who wrote Count of Monte Cristo. So Cannon Films did not think that Van Damme the Man was a lead actor. In fact, called the idea poison until a movie called Bloodsport came out. Changed his mind, and he was like, hey, wait a minute, yo, Jean-Claude, we got a 3-picture deal here. And Van Damme had recently seen Cronenberg's Dead Ringers and become obsessed with the idea of playing dual roles. And he thought Dumas's 1844 novella, The Corsican Brothers, was the key to all this. Because I know, when I think of Alexandre Dumas, I think of roundhouse kicks and the Jean-Claude splits. Well, Cannon didn't dig it, but Sheldon Lettish was all in. So we open up in the past with a business deal involving a tunnel or some such. We got one of them's a scumbag businessman. The other one's a nice family man. He's got a wife, he's got twin boys, and he's got his best friend, his bodyguard, Juliette Lewis's dad. Now, Juliette Lewis's dad is probably best known for being in more Clint Eastwood movies than Clint Eastwood. Now, they send their bodyguard best friend home early, which can only mean one thing. The Hong Kong triad is going to show up and try to blow these guys away. Now, Juliette Lewis's dad does try to show up during the firefight. He's able to rescue one of the Van Damme twins. The other Van Damme twin is rescued by the nanny. So we got dual Van Dammes here. One of them is raised in LA. We're talking Hollywood, silk underwear and fanciness, but he can still roundhouse kick. So we're going to call him Jean Hollywood. And the other one, raised as an orphan on the mean streets of Hong Kong. We got Hong Claude. Now, Jean Hollywood works in some kind of dance studio aerobics thing, and he's showing some ladies, hey, because of karate and my big legs, I can do some mean splits. And I tell you what, for all those years the Titanic spent underwater, it never has been as wet as that room was when they filmed this scene, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. Anyhow, we also find out that Jean Hollywood teaches a karate class, and he wears the same ridiculous outfit. And one guy, of course, makes fun of him, and of course he gets a roundhouse kick for his trouble. Now, Jean Hollywood was raised by Juliette Lewis's dad, who pretends to be his uncle. Now, he reveals here, hey, I'm not your uncle, but you got a twin brother. Boom, we're flying across the globe via a plane. Jean Hollywood is cuddled up like a 4-year-old girl with his short pink shorts, and he's looking out the window at some wonderful stock footage of Hong Kong. Actually, I gotta be honest here. Most of this movie was shot in Hong Kong. All the interiors, of course, were done in studio in LA, but all the on location, all the exteriors, they were done in Hong Kong, and for the simple reason that they didn't want to deal with permits. So Jean Hollywood is taken into some seedy Hong Kong bar, and this is where we meet our Kroger brand Sharon Stone. Because this is the 90s, folks. You got to remember that Sharon Stone was in every movie, even if it didn't have the Sharon Stone. Kroger brand Sharon Stone mistakes Jean Hollywood for his brother, so before you know it, she's fondling his silk underwear, and Hong Claude shows up and headbutts his twin brother. Now, blue screen, split screen, body double, who gives a crap? We got two Jean-Claudes on screen, and it's glorious. So the twins are going to get to know each other. They go out to eat. Kroger brand Sharon Stone, she's going to go off to investigate some claims because she works for the scumbag businessmen that had their parents killed. It's also at this point that Van Damme is talking to himself. They're sitting next to each other. One of them is obviously blue screened. It's like the best one-man off-Broadway play you've ever seen. They're also getting involved with some shady characters. You got Cyclops Bolo, complete with facial scar. I mean, it's like a James Bond villain, and I love it. And Cyclops Bolo's boss is Hong John Lennon, a kind of cutout scumbag triad gangster. And this is where we learn that Hong John Lennon actually went to an estate sale and bought all the things of the Van Damme's parents. They got the cigar box that Juliette Lewis's dad gave him, complete with a lighter, and it leads to Cyclops Bolo just beating the crap out of him with the same nutcracker move that Jean-Claude himself used In Lionheart, I mean, this guy obviously does not watch his own movies, and that's a rookie mistake. And if he wasn't enough for you, we also have Not Chinese China, for all you 90s wrestling fans, and she's looking into Kroger brand Sharon Stone. Now, Not Chinese China is played by a lady that won the Miss Olympia a bunch of times, Corey Everson. Meanwhile, the twins are really ready to team up because they realize there hasn't been enough explosions or roundhouse kicks in this film yet, and they sneak onto a dock via roundhouse kicks, guns, and they of course blow this place to bits, and then they're gonna sneak into the Climax Club, named for its subtlety no doubt, and they're sneaking in acting like they're bringing in some cognac. But this is a specialty type of cognac. It doesn't get you loaded so much as it gets you exploded. After they blow a big chunk of this place to bits, they head off to their secret hideaway, abandoned hotel. Hong Claude and Juliette Lewis's dad are off chopping firewood when John Hollywood answers the phone. And of course, it's Kroger brand Sharon Stone, as he finds out she's been Me Too'd by Still Not Chinese China. So he sneaks off, and they're gonna meet at that seedy Hong Kong bar. Unfortunately, Still Not Chinese China shows up with some henchmen, including one called Spurs. He's played by Peter Mulata, who was the fight choreographer. Anyhow, I'm sure you've seen one-way mirrors in 1,000 different movies. Here we get the one-way aquarium fish tank. It's an exclusive here on the Van Dammocalpyse. It's back to the secret base, except for now we find that Still Not Chinese China can also fly a helicopter. There's evidently nothing this woman can't do. She can fly helicopters, she can do sexual assaults. So of course now it's time in the film for our Kroger brand Sharon Stone to show off all her acting abilities. Her Twin Peaks are out, and she's wearing what I can only assume in the early 1990s was considered somewhat sexy underwear. This does not lead to a sex scene of the normal variety. No, we covered a Hong Claude, who's found out his brother's with his girl. He doesn't know why, but he's in a jealousy-infused rage, and this leads to some kind of psychosexual, dark fantasy nightmare about his girl making it with his twin brother. Now, they're both played by Van Damme, no less, so it doesn't get more Freudian than this. It is a good time to actually mention that Oliver Stone once told Van Damme that this scene is his favorite Jean-Claude scene of all time. This little jealousy tiff leads to some glorious Van Damme versus Van Damme action via split screen, body doubles, and roundhouse kicks. We also learn one of the major differences between the two as Hong Claude explains that, yes, I am drunk, but tomorrow you will still be a, I quote, faggot. A film made in a more socially enlightened time. This was not. John Hollywood, he's all butthurt, he's all, I'm just gonna swim back to California. Now he heads into the ocean at this point, and then we cut to a shot of a beach, and we think just for a second, did he really swim back to Hollywood? But in truth, it's just each Van Damme has had one Van Damme of a night. They're waking up. Meanwhile, the henchmen have showed up, and they're storming the beach. Some bad guys wearing gas masks head into the complex, and I'm not sure if this is part of the mission, or if these were henchmen that were just called into duty while they were off grocery shopping in 2020. We got a barrage of throat chops, roundhouse kicks, John Woo-worthy gun antics. My favorite bit is one of the brothers throws a stick to distract a guard, runs around a tree, and then the guard turns back around and he gets throat chops. Despite their efforts, Kroger brand Sharon Stone and Juliette Lewis's dad are both kidnapped. Now they're gonna sneak into the bad guy's lair, and they find out Juliette Lewis's dad has been killed. Jean Hollywood is pissed. Now this leads to some great shadow puppet play as Spurs gets taken down. Now Cyclops Bolo, he's got these big shipping containers and he's tossing them, and it's the best defense I've seen against a Jean-Claude roundhouse kick. And now the t-shirts are coming off the Van Damme, so you know it's getting serious. Bolo ends up roundhouse kicked and odd jobbed in the same scene after a long fight. Now it's time for Still Not Chinese China to use her thunderous thighs to try and kill dominatrix style. But she goes down too, as we're all out of James Bond villains. Kroger brand Sharon Stone is rescued, and wait a minute? Juliette Lewis's dad is alive? Maybe he did learn something from the man with no name. Now we got Tetris with shipping containers. We got Hong John Lennon. He's got one of those knives in his canes, but he learns all about the gears of war. And then we get some first-class shipping right to the head of the scumbag businessman. No tracking number required. Now all is well that ends well, as some split screen tells us, complete with 80s freeze frame end shot. Now we never did get a sequel to Double Impact. It could have been about Kroger brand Sharon Stone and the twins continuing to kick butt as a polyamorous triad, taking on the Hong Kong triad. It could have been called Double Triad. It's Schlocker time. You got best obvious dual role for Van Damme the Man, best rip-off of Oddjob's death scene in Goldfinger, best reconstructive surgery for that shotgun blast to Mama Van Damme's pleading face. Definitely gets best weirdest Freudian fantasy sex scene. Best worst green screen for both the dual Van Damme stuff and that shot where one of the bros is hanging cliffhanger style above some shipping containers. Speaking of that, you have Best Death by a shipping container. Yeah, you might have trouble getting your Amazon deliveries right now, but here at the Van Dammocalpyse, stuff's always delivered on time. We also got Best Booze for that cognac that'll get you loaded and exploded. So yeah, double impact. It's, 40% a wannabe James Bond picture, it's 40% wannabe John Woo, it's 20% roundhouse kick. It's all Jean-Claude. In fact, it's 2 of them. On my, Schlock cinema scale, I give this 3 Wynonas. So you can check it out on the Blu-ray release, which is pretty rad. It has a huge documentary on the making of the film. You can check it out on an old DVD. You can, I think Starz is streaming it for free. But, don't quote me on that, but check it out with some double mint gum.
Hock Schlock.